integration. Some of it is just really, really exciting. So Joyce, the first answer to your first question is yes, I would definitely go with WordPress. You have a question about hosting companies. There are a number of good ones out there. I like HostGator a lot. I use HostGator on my personal accounts, and every opportunity I get, I recommend people to HostGator. Not there aren't others out there that are also good, Bluehost and others. I would not use GoDaddy as a host for a WordPress website. So anyway, my first choice is HostGator. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you know when you need a dedicated server? I have HostGator as well. That's who serves my website. But how do you know when you need to have a dedicated server or a shared server?
Well, for most businesses our size, small businesses, you don't need to have a dedicated server. The way you would know is if there was some kind of a system overload, something like that, where you were noticing some real slow lag times that were caused on a server being oversold or overused. Most of the big hosting companies don't have those issues anymore. There was a time where that was a real issue. Or if there's something else that you need to do security-wise or other things that large companies might deal with, even where they're integrating information from a website into some kind of a database or something that might be easier for their IT department to do that on an in-house server or something like that, or some other kind of a dedicated server, whether or not it's in-house. But for most small businesses, there's just not a need anymore to go with the dedicated server. The other question that I have here is, how about a shopping cart? If you're just selling one product, I mean, PayPal works fine, although there are people out there that for whatever reason, they have some reluctance to PayPal, even though it's huge. There are people that think that they find it difficult to use a credit card with PayPal rather than just if they don't have a PayPal account, which it's not difficult, but there is some kind of perceived difficulty. WooCommerce is a great solution. It's not brand new, but it hasn't been around all that long. But they're the same company that created a lot of themes, what they call Woo themes for WordPress.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is joyous. Technical difficulties.
No worries.
I couldn't get you on the phone. I guess I didn't have the right selection on the USB headset. So.
Oh, no problems. Glad to have you audible here. And have you been able to hear some of my answers?
I got on about the time you were talking about WordPress and then about the HostGator.
Yeah, HostGator.
That I was kind of fumbling with stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, HostGator is the host I would use. WooCommerce, which is very affordable, I think they even have a free version, is the e-commerce solution that I would use.
Okay.
And I would definitely use WordPress both as the site content management system and as the blogging platform. I know you mentioned the blog platform.
So I didn't listen to the first part. Did you talk about, or did you see the first part of my question about?
Well, I don't know that I understood that. So
Sure.
What is the first part of your question?
Well, there's a book that's very popular called RedemptionManual.com. It's published here locally in Medford, and I worked with the people for about 8 or 9 years to help them to grow their business. And I think it was 2006. I said, "Do you guys want the Redemption Manual? Do you want the URL?" And there are people who've been printing a free press tabloid-sized paper for 30 years, hard copy. Nice people, and I worked for them for about here. And Robert said, "No." I said, "Great." So I grabbed it. And I've been sitting on it all this time, and there was kind of a splitting up of the two partners, the man and the woman. Anyway, I'm good friends with both of them, but I've never been able to get permission to sell the book, to resell it. And I'm working on that right now. So my question is, if I can get that permission and set up a site for it, redemptionmanual.com, and there's lots of traffic, when you go to look for it. It's people all over the world have been dealing with it. for quite a while. I'm not quite sure what to do with it, if I should just try and sell Redemption Manual on it, if I can get that permission and that's the best way and get the most traffic, or I should try and put on maybe associated or related products that other people might want to put on for a fee.
Yeah.
Or, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I've got the URL. There's traffic developed. The first couple of top people there, I heard you playing with the computer, so I figured you probably went and take a look at it. But McCutcheon's Inc. is the female ex-wife of the property, and then Robert Kelly is the one still doing it. But that's kind of where it's at. I'm not sure what to do to capitalize on it.
Great question. So here's the thing that we want to remember, that in all cases, with very, very few exceptions, the concept of singularity is really a benefit when it comes to marketing. So in response to the question, should you have multiple offers and different things at the book sales site, my answer would be no to that. I would have the site really dedicated to the manual, whatever all the benefits are, emphasize all of that. Now, that's not to in any way indicate that I wouldn't try to sell additional stuff. I definitely want to do that because there's probably not enough revenue in the manual alone to be all that exciting. Right. Typically, you need additional products. So what I would do is I'd have a site. In fact, I'm working right now on this exact same concept with a client of mine, where we have people coming in. In fact, what we're doing is we're providing a kind of what could be called a white paper, what we're actually calling in this case a guide that we're giving for free, which is kind of a bit of a summary of what the book is that we're selling, and has some stuff that's not in the book, kind of some excerpts that were not used in the actual book, and we're giving that away as a way to build our email list.
And I have an email book that I was going to give away actually too, so that's what I would do, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So you give this, give something away to pull the people into your list. Once you then get them into the list, what you want to do is you want to make it very, very clear of the particular product, in this case the manual that you have for sale. Once you get them into the manual process, once they buy the manual, then the next step is going to be to offer all these ancillary products or supporting products or products or whatever to the group.
So would that be on the same site or an additional site?
Well, I would put that either on an additional site, or if you have a store, and what we're doing was we're launching a book, for an organization that actually has a bunch of additional products and a full-blown site with a big e-commerce store built in. But we don't want to distract our visitors into that whole array of products. We're going to bring them to the mini site to sell the book. And then once they become a purchaser, then we're going to introduce them to the rest of our products. So that kind of a concept. And that's typically what we do when we launch new products, is have a site dedicated to that, so we can be very focused in introducing that product and all those sorts of things. So that's the way that I'd approach that. Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
I had a website up. Actually, you and I talked one time, and you took a look at it, celestialjoy.com. I'm sure you don't remember, but my problem was I didn't have a lot of call to action.
Yeah,
I'm a good talker, but I haven't been selling on it.
Okay.
But it's down. But the point is, though, what's the point? I've never really done search engine optimization. So what I'm thinking is, my question is, if I have a site, I only have one book, that's what I'm focusing on to bring people in. What's the best way to go about, I know about, keywords and things, but what's the best way to go about, because you have to speak a different language for a search engine. It isn't certainly good grammar all the time, but so my question is, what is the best way to go about trying to SEO this thing before you build it, so you don't have to go back and redo?
Let me address that. It's so funny. I'm just sitting here looking at myself on this computer with that stand-up picture with my hands in front of me, kind of held that way, and for some reason I'm sitting here as you're talking with my hands just like that.
That's good.
That must be my standard.
Prayer for me.
Yeah, apparently, it must be my standard pose. That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
do that with Santa too?
I'm sorry.
Does Anna do that too?
Yeah. Hey, okay, let me answer your question about the keywords in your SEO. First off, when you have a book, you mentioned your book, this Redemption Manual, and maybe people are already looking for that. So certainly you would want to be optimized for that particular keyword if people are looking for it. But very frequently, that we want to be ranking on keywords that are not directly related to the product or the product name or whatever. So it could be that people who are interested in the Redemption Manual are looking for certain things in their life. I don't know what the Redemption Manual is about, but if it has
it's about freedom and financial freedom.
Okay, so things like financial freedom or other paying off the mortgage or whatever these things are, those related or what we might call long tail keywords might be really helpful for you to rank on. And what you would want to do to do that, and I'm going to just pull over here, is just use the Google Keyword Tool. And there are other tools out there that you can pay for, but the Keyword Tool is great. You just Google on Google Keyword Tool, and you'll find this, and you log in, and then you can put in here whatever you want, financial freedom or whatever the related words are, and then Google. In fact, let's just do it.
Financial freedom.
Let's just say freedom. Whoops. And then what Google's going to do here is it's just going to tell us what related words, debt-free living, freedom, financial, reverse mortgage, etc. So you can go in and see which of these might be appropriate for you, becoming debt-free. And that tells you how many searches are being done and how competitive it is. And then you can look at some of those and say, yeah, I can try to optimize for some of those keywords. And what we mean when we're talking about optimize, it really just means that we're going to have a page of content about whatever it is that we're talking about. So if you're going to optimize for this keyword debt-free living, then you're going to have a page of content on your website that's about debt-free living. Now, there's kind of some ideas about how frequently the debt-free living should be incorporated in the content. In other words, if you have 10,000 words and it's in there once, Google may not associate that page being very much about debt-free living. If you have 500 words and it's in there 20 times, Google's going to say, hey, these guys are trying to cram it full of keywords. They're trying to over-optimize.
Is there any way to kind of judge? I know that they're always changing their algorithm, but is there any way to kind of, because I see things, and even, search engine optimization software and everything is everywhere, but is there any way to kind of, is there like I know it changes, but like an outline or a format or something?
We've created a little guide that we use, but the best rule of thumb is if it reads well, right? I mean, Google is looking for content that is pretty natural. The couple of other things that are important. In fact, I'm going to pull up real quick one of my PowerPoints that I have that has a little bit to do with SEO, because I think that this is probably important to other people out there as well. Jason, I know that you will, you can use this a little bit, but one of the things, and
is
Ford,
it just Jason and I, or?
Well, it is, and then Ford, let me unmute. Ford,
I don't want to monopolize it,
No, this is okay. Ford, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, good.
My mic's on.
Yeah, it is. I hear you fine. Hey, great. Welcome.
Normally I'm in mute mode, but go ahead.
No, I unmuted you. Just I wanted to say hi. This kind of a call is pretty casual. There's just a few of us on here, and we're just firing away. You can mute yourself, or I can mute yourself back if you'd like.
No problem.
But I'm glad to have you on board. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. I know just for the other people on the call, Ford is an internet marketing guru, if we can call him that, and does a lot of internet marketing stuff. And feel free to add into anything that you might want to Ford, during.
Well, only thing I'd add in at this quick point, I'm going to let you do it, is just for those of you that are on a call that may not be experienced, you need to understand that even someone like me, who I consider myself a pretty smart on all this. I'm always interested in what Ed has to say, what other people have to say, because this environment changes so quickly. And so when I got his email, I just got off presenting my own webinar for my own membership community, and what he caught me with was that he's going to be talking about mobile and how the new changes. So it's like, you know what? Take anything that Ed's doing. Basically, my outcome is anything he does, schedule it, get on, participate, because it's that 1 or 2 tips that can really make a big difference in your business.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's absolutely true. In fact, and I do the same thing. And for you guys, for the others on the call here, I mean, one of the things that we all know is Google, and not only Google, so many other things that are changing very, very rapidly and very consistently. So change is an important part of all this, and we want to be able to take advantage of that. And that's one of the reasons when this mobile thing became apparent. Google just announced this within the last few days, but they're saying, look, we're going to put a higher priority. And this in a way, Joyous does address your SEO question as well. And
okay.
Because one of the things that Google is saying is, it says, look, we're going to give preferential treatment, essentially. In other words, our algorithm is going to favor sites that are mobile friendly, sites that really provide the user with a good mobile experience. We're going to give them higher rankings in the search results because so many people are using mobile devices, iPhones, iPads, and all the rest. And so the reason that I kind of framed it the way I did in my email is this is the time, these are the kinds of things that occur that provide those that are on the ball with a unique opportunity to jump over some of their competitors who are a little bit asleep at the wheel, right? So you have these guys out there that maybe enjoying some rankings on top of you on some of your keywords. All of a sudden, they don't update their site in a way to make it really mobile friendly, mobile compatible, and you do. The next thing you're sitting on top of them. So that's what I really like about it. And speaking to that. One of the things, and you mentioned earlier about the platforms that I like, and WordPress specifically, and WordPress has some plugins that make that will create a mobile version of your website. Some of these are free. So many of the WordPress plugins are free. Now, I say free, but I also always encourage everybody to donate to these developers. I mean, I love this WordPress world. I love it. And I want these guys that are out there contributing to it to make a few bucks. I make not only a few bucks, I want to make a lot of money. And I'm so
keep doing it.
Keep doing it, So every time you use any of those, give them $5 or give them $50 or whatever is comfortable for you, but throw some money their way. So the answer to your question, this is the slide that I was really looking for as it related to finding your keywords, that there's typically about 80% of the visitors, and sometimes more, to most of the websites who come to the site using what we call long tail keywords if the sites are optimized for those. So the more you can, I use the language, cast a wide net. So if you can find all these related keywords, create a page of content. You have to be a decent writer, and you have to be willing to sit down and write. But if you're willing to do that, then you can really get yourself found on a lot of keywords. And those keywords, and some of them might only deliver 40 or 50 or 20 or whatever visitors per month to your website. But the next thing you know, you might have dozens of keywords. Here's a little
and that's the way I tend to search. I'm a long tail guy. I usually use 4 words or more.
And most of us do. See, here's a search engine ranking report. We create these ranking reports for all of our clients every month. And what this does is, let me explain it a little bit. But we have the keywords. In this case, it's a little beauty salon. But we have. Let me just see how many keywords we have. We have a total of 280 keywords for this little website. They have this thing, I'm just looking right here, gel nails. I guess those are fake fingernails or something.
Yeah.
And that's an important keyword for them. So we optimize for that. Medford is the city that they're in, so they want to be found on that. And you see they have a number 8 ranking, and it just went up 3, and that's on Google. And then we have Yahoo and Bing as well. So so a couple of things here. One is you want to identify all these kinds of long tail keywords that people might be Googling on, and then you want to be able to keep track. So this little ranking service that we provide, that's very affordable, and it depends on what package you're in, what you get.
Right.
But it gives you an opportunity, and whether you do it manually yourself or you do it some other way, you want to be able to see, are you ranking on all these keywords that you start optimizing for? Okay. And with that, I should say that our computers are skewed. We go to our websites all the time, and we're logged into Google, and we're doing all this stuff. Next thing you know, we train our Google to which sites we like, and Google then delivers them higher in our search results. So if we go and check, like if I Google on myself, say for internet marketing speaker or something, I might show higher on my ranking than if you Googled on that same term. Then you will see a different result than I do. So what we do when we run these reports, we run them in a computer that's off-site. And in fact, it's up in Portland, Oregon, and never logs in to do anything, and it's just totally its own unique server. So even though we don't, so given that, I mean, this is not what everybody sees when they Google on all those, but it's the most accurate that we can create.
Unbiased.
Most unbiased, exactly. Hey, so I want to move along a little bit. Hey, Jason, did you have any real specific questions? You there?
One question that just came to mind right now is your PowerPoint presentation. How did you create the PowerPoint that had your image in it and so forth?
How did I make this PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question, and it kind of goes to what Ford said a minute ago. I learned how to do that actually from Jim Edwards, who's another great internet marketing guy. And Jim had a cool PowerPoint with in fact very similar to the one we're looking at right there, and he did a little class on how to do that. And I charged some small amount for it. But anyway, it's relatively simple. I don't remember. I did these a long time ago. I did that one, and let's see. I think I have a different look. I was
asking you the other day about YouTube videos, and I was using a real generic PowerPoint template. But after looking at your PowerPoint presentation, if I was able to just snazz mine up and maybe personalize it a little bit more. I like the header and the footer to be able to have the domain name on there, and then whatever the title is of whatever the PowerPoint is.
I may have done a video on this at one time. I would have to go back and see, but let me say that for any of you who are, well, in fact, you don't even have to be a member of my site to access this. I'm looking for this right here. If you go to IMG, IMG for Internet Marketing Group, imgmembers.com, and you just come up here and search, and if you search on PowerPoint, I may have done a video on that, and if it's available to non-members, you might be able to just get it, although you're actually a member, so you would find it regardless, I think. But I'm not sure that I've done one, but you could look there and see. The reason that I did have this queued up, and let me just jump back to this real quick, is talking about mobile marketing and how that is becoming more and more of an influencer to Google. There are some really cool tools, and you can come over to IMG Members and just search on mobile, and you will see some options that you have. This is a great little video, by the way, 441% increase in mobile and 14% decrease in traditional visits, and that explains what happened there. But this due to mobile, there's a link to this site that provides mobile websites. There's also, like I said earlier, WordPress plugins that you can use that we actually like, and they're again free. So anyway, but you can always come in here and search for different things that you might find useful in the process. Let me see. It looks like I have a question in here. I see that you have Ford. I don't know. Can you just chime in, unmute yourself, and it looks like you have some ideas on that PowerPoint.
Sure. Well, I was just going to say, I don't want to certainly take over any.
No, I'm happy to have you.
I was just going to say that for those of you that are inexperienced with something like Photoshop, there's a website called PicMonkey, PicMonkey.com, and I'm not endorsing them particularly. It's no affiliate link or anything, but it's a site where if you're non-technical and you want to make images and use photos and put text overlays and things like that, PicMonkey is a great non-technical resource until you get something like Photoshop or you get more experience. And so it's a great tool you can use in your marketing for your business.
Good. Appreciate that. So PicMonkey, PicMonkey.com. Thank you. And within the PowerPoint, Jason, there is a way to edit your layers, and it seems to me that if you come over here to is it
View Slide Master?
Yeah, View. Yeah, there you go. View Slide Master. Then you can go to the master slide, and then in there, that's where these images can be placed in. And this obviously has a transparent background. So if you can get an image with a transparent background, then you can go in there and you can insert that in. I think you can even make a background transparent within PowerPoint. Again, I don't know exactly how to do that. I don't want to take the time to do all that right now. But this is how you would edit that slide, and you would also go in here and edit, whatever the name of the presentation is and all that sort of thing.
Very helpful. Thank you.
You bet. I know I see somebody named Brian is on. Brian, I'm going to unmute you. Brian, you there? Hello, Brian. If you want to chime in, I can't hear you, but if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the question box below, and I'll try to answer them there. Anybody else that has any questions? Jason, anything else? Okay. And how about Joyous? Any additional questions?
As you're talking, I was thinking, but it caught me off guard. Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sounds great.
Okay. I'm just at a kind of place where I'm trying to figure out what we want to do. I had my website up. I liked it. It was pretty good, but we never really did very much with it, and so we're trying to kind of go back again. I think I want to go with the WordPress, like I said, and I really want to, well, maybe just a general. Something that really intrigues me is multiple streams of passive income, and I know that's a mouthful, but, like affiliate programs, I'm not really, I've looked at a lot of different things over the years, but is there anything that you found in your estimation that seems to be a good kind of way to go to, I'm retired and doing stuff, I'm looking to generate some revenue, because when you retire, it changes things a little bit for some reason. And so, things that I have a lot of interest and a lot of likes, but there's just so much out there, that you get overwhelmed with it sometimes.
Well, that's interesting that you said you have a lot of interest and a lot of likes, because that was going to be my answer to your question. I have never been a huge affiliate marketer. There are things like HostGator that we provide to our clients, and we usually sell those through our affiliate account. I sell some stuff on Amazon again, but I've never, I haven't been like Armin Morin or Jim Edwards or some of these guys that just have made a ton of money selling affiliate programs. That's just never been what I pursued. I talk to somebody like Armin who's making $1 million a year or whatever it is, or he's making more than that, well over that, with his affiliate stuff. Sometimes I kick myself that I haven't been more aggressive with that. But for me, it's just been things that I like, stuff that I feel good about, and go down that path. So I'm not really a great source for just really looking at affiliate marketing as a money maker. That's just never been my real
well, sure, that's not your forte.
Yeah, it's not. So I don't know that I can speak to that real well.
Sure, that's okay.
if anybody else wants to chime into that, that's fine. And there's some other things that I can cover if we just want to talk about stuff, but I want to make sure that any real specific questions get answered. So if you have one, go ahead and fire away. Or you can put it in the chat box. There's a little chat box down at the bottom rather than the questions. If you use the chat, that might be better because I can actually see it a little easier. So, but since nothing else is coming in, and we can end the call. I don't want to waste anybody's time, including mine. But there may be a few things that would be worth talking about in the few minutes that we have together here. One of the things that I covered in a seminar earlier this year were some of the tactics that I have found really important and gaining in importance, in addition to what we were talking about earlier with the social media, which I obviously covered. But let's just kind of walk through some steps. I know, Joyce, you mentioned earlier that you've been great at putting information content out there, but not necessarily real effective with the call to action or the sales part of the process.
And I'm a salesperson.
Well,
it's different on the internet,
It is a little different, and I'll tell you what I've done. I've really looked at this in a unique perspective, or what for me has been unique, because I also came from kind of a sales background for most of my career. But today, the way I frame sales to myself is it's not so much the alternate choice close or the puppy dog close. It's not so much these tactics as what I'm looking at is just plain consideration. I just want to be considerate to the site visitor. And here's what the way that manifests for me. So when I'm talking about being considerate is if I just told somebody a whole bunch of information about some great program or a book or whatever, I want to make it really easy for them to buy it. Right? I mean, if I do anything other than that, I'm leaving them hanging after just telling them all this wonderful stuff. So there are a couple of things. So just philosophically, that's the way I kind of approach it. And then psychologically, I am aware that there are some ways and things that make it easier and increase the conversion ratio. One of those things, and this really hit home for me, I study a lot of A/B testing. I really look at what is more effective than the other thing, which works better, this or that. And in most of these conversion studies that I've looked at, the overriding most simple aspect of increasing conversions is increasing the size of the buy button. So if you have a little button on the bottom that says order now or whatever it says, the number one thing you can do to increase conversions on almost every website is make that button bigger.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
There for a while. I don't know if it's still around. I had it, but I took it off. Staples used to have a big buy button. You could actually download and put it on your desktop if you wanted to go right to their site.
Interesting.
But it's huge, Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it works, but again, it speaks to what I was saying earlier. Just out of plain consideration for people, it makes it very front and center. That here's what you're trying to do. Here's what the next step is, and whether it's buy or request more info or whatever, bigger. There's a place where it's too big, but typically people make them way too small. The other thing is the color. Typically, these colors that are different from the theme of the site. So you have we're looking at this PowerPoint in front of us, and it's this blue, black, white. The orange kind of stands out, right? So if you had a theme of your site was a certain color set, and you took your buy button or your call to action button, and you made it orange or some other color that's not a part of your theme colors, you will, in most cases, your conversions will increase. So it's little stuff like that, and so often it is little stuff. I mean, here's an example of a page that kind of maybe speaks to what you were talking about earlier. A lot of great information about whatever the product is here, but what do I do now? So the obvious answer is you put in a a button. You put in a purchase field. That's your kind of becomes your call to action, and they put in here, activate your free trial. Then they put this little risk-free starburst, the little seal symbol there. So you can look at that and see very dramatically the difference between a page with a call to action and one without one.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference, and of course the difference is reflected in the number of people who take the offer.
Right.
The other thing that I pay a lot of attention to are these eye tracking heat maps. I want to know where eyeballs are going on a web page, and one of the things after looking at just hundreds of different eye tracking heat maps of all kinds of site configurations and search engine configurations, and here's another cute little site, but over and over and over again we see, and this is a great example right here, that our eyeballs will go to an image. In almost all cases, you can see right here, our eyeballs go to the image and to the first part of the headline. And, the same thing here. For the eyes go to the image, and the way the red is where it more frequently viewed than the green. That's the color layout here. But then this is an absolutely intriguing fact, that when you turn the eyes towards your content, more people read your content. So you can look at this same content, call to action down here. So you say, okay, we're looking at the cute baby. Of course, we are all going to do that, but we missed the message. Here we can take the cute baby, which we're all going to look at again, but the baby's looking over here, so we look over there too, and you can see how much more effective it is at moving your eyeball down to your call to action. So this kind of stuff. Now, so somewhere in here, there's something that's more psychological, right? I mean, we're using some psychology to make sure that our message actually gets seen. So, but again, for me, I look at that and say, well, if I know this, if I'm aware that this is the way that the human eyes like to work, the way that they do work, I am doing myself and the reader, the site visitor, a disservice if I don't use these techniques or these layout style in order to maximize their awareness of what it is that I'm doing. So, here's another example, where the headlines are going over here or the eyeballs are going over here to where the headline starts. By the way, a huge, very, very common mistake that I see. People put up in their header, maybe a phone number and other real important information, and they have an assumption that because it's up here at the top of the page, people really see it. The reality is, and this heat map absolutely shows that, our eyeballs go below the header down to the content and down to the images, and they can easily miss this stuff that's up above there. So we want to be sure, if we have it up there, to restate it down here. So yeah, some great stuff. Here's another example of a page that was laid out wrong. This person was looking the wrong way, and then when they pushed her, so her eyes were kind of looking towards the center of the page where we want people to read, and our eyeballs were going to this guy's bald head back here, and we were really looking at him, and we weren't reading what was there. So they looked at that and said, yeah, we want the eyeball to go there, but we want them to read the bullet list on top. So, and when these changes, so the page is just, almost identical, but a few minor changes, a 78% increase in conversions. That's huge. I mean, that can be the difference between, profits and losses, so little things that make a huge difference. Another thing, I mentioned this earlier about the buttons, bigger buttons that are different color, things on the buttons, download now, register now free, rather than just saying submit or whatever, using your buttons as a sales tool or as a vehicle, incredibly effective.
Like little billboards, like what they are, really.
I mean, well, it's a call to action. Get the free guide now. Click here to download. I mean, you're really calling people to action. Get a free quote now. Those kinds of things.
Yeah, our society doesn't like to really read any much these days anyway. That's why they left the magazines. They look at the pictures. They're not really readers, like we used to be.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of truth in that. Here's some other mistakes that people tend to make, and we don't see these as much as we used to, but I still run across them where that people have a submit button somewhere on the bottom of a form, and then right next to it they'll have a reset or a clear form button. We don't ever want those. I mean, there's no reason to have that kind of a button near a form, and so if you have something like that, you do want to remove it. Here's another example of talking about eye flow and eye tracking. Here's a great looking little web page, right? I mean, it looks very professional. We have the woman over here that the eye is going to go to. She's even looking in the right direction over here. But you can want to see how to improve something like this. You look at this one. So now we have the same woman, but the headline is a little lower on the page. We have our eyes pulled over to this content in the middle. Again, let's go back. So you can see that the headline's kind of squished right in at the top. We come over here, and there's a lot better flow from one side to the other. A couple of other things to look at. We have new. By the way, new is not always good, right? A lot of people are a little hesitant of new. And then they say they're trying to be cute. Take it for a test drive. Whatever this is, they're going to say it's new. Take it for a test drive. The second version just says try it free, right? I mean that's what they're really talking about. Try it free. And anyway, the difference between these two, this being the before, this being the after, a 300% increase in conversions. 300%. So I mean, it's a huge difference by some minor changes in a website. So it's little stuff like that I find fascinating. I love it. This is the world I live in, of course. But I mean, for me, this is the stuff that's really, really fascinating, and it's usable by small business people. I mean, we don't have to be a huge company to learn from this, and now even to do our own split testing. We talked about WordPress earlier. There is a plugin for WordPress that actually allows us to do A/B split tests. So I mean, so we can put one version up. We can say, I think this version might look better. Create a separate page for that using these templated guideline kind of pages, these landing page plugin, and then we can drive traffic to each and monitor the conversions out of each. And we can do that through whatever kind of tracking program, Google Analytics or something more sophisticated if it's needed. So that's some good tactics, some good information that we can all use. We can talk a little bit about Facebook pages. We just some of the.
I had a question about Facebook, kind of.
Yeah.
Can I jump? Well, I saw this and I don't remember exactly. So it's kind of mushy. I apologize, but it was something about somebody creating Facebooks and he was getting a lot of. I'm not a Facebook guy, so I don't know terminology, but looks or visits or whatever it is. Well, what he had done is he had discovered or found things that were of interest, I guess, like clips and videos. Mm-hmm. Got a lot of hits, put them on the Facebook. What happened is he now created a page that had all of these very high-ranking and likable kinds of videos on it. People would come to it and they would pass it on. And so what it did is it increased his Facebook presence, I guess.
Yeah, that's very common. I mean, it's exactly what people try to do. Is they have a page, either a personal page or a business page, that they're using to try to drum up an awareness, a connection with other people. For the big brands, Starbucks or Coca-Cola or whatever, they have those big brand pages, and oftentimes they'll give things off like coupons or other kind of discounts or other fun incentives. Give some award for the funniest video or what have you. For most of us smaller business people, oftentimes we find we get a lot more traffic to our personal page than the fan pages that we try to build. Mm-hmm. But that said, I mean, we still want to have our own separate business page, of course. What we're trying to do is find ways to engage with those people, to make it interesting and fun for those people to engage in our pages. And there's a lot of kind of strategies for that. But for me, one of the things that I have found Facebook particularly good for. Well, I really love it just as it connected with I have a grandmother who's 97 years old, and she lives about 1,000 miles away, and she's on Facebook every day. I bet if I went to Facebook right now, she would be on there putting stuff up. I love it. I mean, I absolutely love that aspect of Facebook for friends and family, even people who I connect with at seminars. Like I gave a seminar back in Florida and had people come in from around the world, connected with several people from overseas. I have this one woman in Denmark who is very, very engaged with my Facebook stuff all the time. I love that connection, and I get business from it. Also, even though that they're seeing all my family and personal posts and all that kind of stuff, I'm kind of on their mind, and then when they need some kind of an internet thing, they'll pop me an email or whatever, or oftentimes just message me. In fact, this is a funny little quick story, but it was several years ago, and we were trying to figure out exactly when it was, but we think it was around 2002 or 2003. I met a woman on an airplane when I was coming back or going to a seminar somewhere. And we got to acquainted. I don't really remember it at all, but she told me all this. And then just about 3 weeks ago, she messaged me on Facebook. We had become Facebook friends, and I have like 3,000 friends or something. I can't really track everything. But anyway, she was a Facebook friend. She messaged me and said, hey, I have a question that I want to ask you. One thing led to another. We're going to wind up doing a lot of very significant business together, all because I met this woman on a plane who would have definitely went by the wayside. I mean, I would have had no way to retain a relationship with her if afterwards she hadn't tracked me down on Facebook and maintained that connection to me. I just know there's that without that this little business deal, and it's a significant business deal, wouldn't have happened. So I love it for that. But what I was going to say, I've had some real success advertising on Facebook, putting the little ads on Facebook. This is not an example of one of mine. It's an example from Which Test One. But the idea of running the little ads on Facebook and then linking them to some other offer has been very, very effective for me personally and for a number of my clients. So that, again, you're talking about your redemption manual, that guide. It may well be that you can find ways to advertise on Facebook with some kind of ad that talks about financial freedom or whatever, and then pull people over to your website. So, that's a great way to do.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've done here, I just noticed LinkedIn here, and this has been really a fun little effective thing for me, is I have went and with all my LinkedIn comments, I get people who kind of comment or whatever the right word is. In fact, I'm going to pull a LinkedIn over real quick. And I haven't seen this, but people come in and they endorse me. So this person, Robert Gluckson, endorsed me for my skill at marketing. Okay, well, I don't know what he knows about me at marketing. See, this guy right here endorsed me for 3 skills: analytics, digital marketing. Well, obviously, I appreciate being endorsed by all these people, but I haven't worked for them. They don't really know me. But for whatever reason, they decide to endorse me. Well, what I do is when I get that, in fact, I'll just open it up real quick, and I'll do it in real time here and show you, because this has really been effective for me. These people,
it really spreads in LinkedIn.
Well, what happened? And let me just show you that I'm opening up Word. I didn't have it open. Well, here it is. Let me just pull open this doc that I use. I'll just show you exactly what I do. So I have this thing and I'm going to pull it right over here. So that's my LinkedIn endorsement thank you. So when people endorse me, I just come over here and grab this and I copy it, and then I go over here. And so this guy that endorsed me is this Robert Gluckson. So I'm going to go to his page. Well, let me see. I can go down and find him this way. And he endorsed me for marketing. So there's the guy. So I'm just going to click on there, and I want to send him a message. So then what I do is I come in, there it is, and it says your endorsement, right? And then I just paste, Control V. I'm going to come up here and say Robert. Right? And then it says, thank you for your endorsement. I strive to provide timely and proven internet marketing tips. You can access archives and subscribe to receive new tips at, and then you might also enjoy my latest personal spiritual development project at, and then I just send them the message. So now, because they endorsed me, they just received this email from me, and you can see, like this person right here, she responded back, regarding your endorsement. I don't know what she said, right? But what I'm saying is, it creates a dialogue, and so I just love this now. And again, from LinkedIn, I of course I get a reasonable amount of business from people who discover me on LinkedIn one way or another, and we wind up doing some type of business together. They bring me on as a coach or whatever. So anyway, it's a great little way, quick, easy, something that all of us small business people can easily do, that just takes that engagement to the next level. And then I'm able, of course, to track that through the analytics, and I can see that I get many more people coming to the website from LinkedIn since I started doing that little thank you for the endorsement kind of a thing. I know, Jason, you mentioned earlier about YouTube. One of the things that I have found that YouTube has, I love YouTube, but you can put your little skin on there. So I have this little same image that I use in this PowerPoint on my YouTube channel. I have some of this other stuff on there. So you can go in there and dress up your YouTube channel. And one of the things that I did recently, and some of you that subscribe to my blog may have seen this, but one of my speaker friends, Chip Eichelberger, he put on his YouTube channel and in fact, I'll just go to mine real quick and show you what he did. And I know we're running out of time, but I'll just show you this because I thought this was pretty impressive. And what we just looked at in that PowerPoint, YouTube changed the look of their of that. So we can't do the same thing that we did on that PowerPoint slide. But here's what I'm talking about. He added a playlist of testimonials, and I didn't have one. And I thought, oh, that is a cool idea to have your playlist of testimonials right on your YouTube channel. So I went in there and created I had the videos on. I just didn't have it set up as a playlist so it displays like this. So now I do. Very, very easy, very simple. Now you can see with me, because I do my Santa stuff and I have a lot of fun with that I kind of play my Santa thing into all this. Now from a business perspective, that may not be the smartest thing. I mean, there might be people out there that look at me and say, oh my God, I don't want anything to do with this crazy guy. I don't know. But hopefully those are not hopefully there's not too many of those. I see that we have BH on the line. BH, I'm going to unmute you. We only have a couple minutes, but I want to offer you a chance to answer a question. BH, do you hear me? I'm not sure if I can hear you here. It doesn't look like it. You can go type any question that you might have into the chat box. BH, are you there? I'm not able to hear. Anything. Anyway, we have couple 3 minutes left. Any other final questions before we wrap up the call? Okay, well, I do want to just say again, thank you. I never know how many people I'm going to bring in on a call like this, and I'm always glad that people come and they hopefully get some questions answered, find a way to do some things that they weren't able to do before. I will take just 1 minute to say, of course, that I am an internet marketing coach. My fee is only $197 a month, pretty affordable for most small businesses. We also do develop WordPress websites, small business WordPress websites. Which most I think would fit for most of you guys. So if you need any help with those kinds of things, I'd love to talk to you in more depth about it. If you're not already a subscriber to the blog, I really do recommend that you come over and subscribe. I tend to put somewhere between 2 and 3 blog posts out a week. I have nearly 500 posts in the site now, and you can come up here and search on pretty much anything you want. Say SEO, if that's a topic of interest for you. And you will find a whole array of posts on search engine optimization, unintended consequences. Man, this was an incredible. This is from June. This is just from a couple week ago. But there was a by putting this little image, your image into your SEO posts, they had a unintended consequence was that traffic dropped dramatically. Click-through rates dropped dramatically. I put a link straight over to the article here. So by using the Google authorship icon on their posts, they had their traffic drop by 90%. I mean, it was a huge. And now, they go through the whole case study here. Very, very interesting. But anyway, I try to put interesting stuff in my blog so you can go there and check it all out. I have to say that in my case, I did not experience this. I've checked my click-throughs, and I didn't have the same experience he had. But it was a very, very interesting perspective that he had, very well documented. I'm not at all doubting the fact that what he said occurred, but I just didn't experience the same thing. And I have a whole theory behind that, but we don't have time to get into it.
One last question.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestion about search engine optimization software that actually works and is worth the money?
You don't need software. I mean, it's really not. You don't need. I mean, I know there are a ton out there, and there are probably people that would argue with me, but I don't use any. We manage somewhere well over 40,000 rankings for a bunch of clients around the country and several in different countries. We don't use any software for it. What we do, I mean, the only software we use is that ranking software that I showed you earlier, because we want to know where everybody's ranking on all of our keywords every month, and sometimes more frequently than that. Right. What you need is good content in your site, good sound SEO strategies. You need a good title tag on each of your page. You need a good heading tag on each of your page. When I say good, I'm talking about well optimized. You need a good linking strategy within your site, and you need links, or ideally to links from outside your site. But if you stick with the basics and you have a site that's good, it's a high quality good site, you're going to have you will be able to enjoy good rankings on maybe not the world's most competitive keywords, because there's a lot of guys that have been around for a long time. Google likes their sites better than yours probably for, whatever. They have more page rank. And new sites, that's hard. It takes a little while to get in the game. But you don't need all that, all that sort of thing. So anyway, that's it. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to pop me an email, ed@edtaylor.com. And if you or call me, for that matter. Anyway,
thanks, Ed. I really appreciate your time and the willingness to do this. You take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you. All right, everybody. Take care. I'm signing off.